Hi y'all, I hope you're having a good revisions week. I'm here with my burrito and my water. Make sure to stay hydrated. This is not alcohol, I just out of water glasses. This is water. Okay, so revisions. Quick reminder of how they're going to work in psychology. You have 6 major assignments you can revise. Timed writes are on Google Classroom, and the quizzes are all on AP Classroom. The revisions for the quizzes are just going to be one free response question, which is the purpose of this video. I'm going to show you how to set up and answer a free response question. When you are done with your revision, make sure you send me an email so I can update Jump Rope. And also, all revisions are due Friday, April 3rd by midnight, because that is when grades are due for quarter 3. Let me know if you have any questions. Moving swiftly on, I want to look at a free response question. So as you know by now, the AP exam in May is going to be just 2 free response questions. So we're going to be practicing them a lot more. Therefore, the reason why I made the revision just a free response question and no multiple choice. So looking at a typical AP free response question, here's one that was on the 2018 exam. Classic question and setup for AP Psychology. So we'll be practicing a lot of things that look like this over the next few weeks. Jackie has been chosen for the lead role in the school play. She is both nervous and excited about this opportunity. And then part A asks you to explain how each of the following concepts may help her performance in the play. Part B asks how each of the following concepts may hinder or hurt her performance in the play. Let's look at how this is something that AP published as like an exemplary student response. So let's look at what's so good about it. I also linked this like above this video in the Google form. I linked this, so you can open it and read along there as well. So she starts off with the first term, and I don't know if the student is male or female. They start off with the first term, which is context-dependent memory. They underline that term, and then they say, context-dependent memory describes how one's situation may help or harm their recall of information. If Jackie practices her role for the play in the same setting with the same emotions/mindset, then she will have a better recall of her lines during the play. This is because in similar contexts to when information is acquired, recall of said information is quicker and more accurate. Okay, that sounds familiar. Let's skip down to selective attention, because if you've noticed, this concept comes up in like every single free response question, so probably will come up in the 2020 exam as well. They write, selective attention refers to one's ability to focus only on certain details or aspects of a situation. If Jackie obtains, fancy, stage fright, or fears performing in front of a large crowd, selective attention will aid her performance. This is because she can focus her attention to only a few members of the audience. Or can focus solely on the stage instead of the many people watching her play. Okay, so the student's response is pretty good. I'm going to use their structure when I show you an example in a second using the cognition revision question. But it's also a little bit like wordy. I think the student does a little bit too much in terms of kind of repeating the same information over and over again and speaking in kind of like an overly formal tone. That's not super necessary for AP Psychology. So I'm going to model similar. I'm going to be a little bit more straightforward in my writing. Scientific writing in general is best if it's just like very straightforward and to the point. We don't need to be so like verbose, or we don't need to like go on and on about things in the way that this student did. Okay, so let's begin with our own question. Very similar setup. conveniently. This is the cognition revision free response question. So you all have access to this on AP Classroom if you want to also practice, even if you don't want to do the revision. This says, in a geography course, Danny is required to learn the capital cities of every country of the world. So that's going to be hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of things that he has to memorize. At the end of the semester, the professor will randomly select 20 countries and give each student an oral quiz on the capital cities in front of the whole class. Okay, so psychologically that's interesting. Not only does he have to memorize things, also he's going to be required to recall that information in like a high stress environment where there's a lot of pressure on him to perform. Same setup. Part A is going to be explain how each of the following might help Danny. And then part B is going to be explain how each of the following might hinder or hurt Danny's performance. So what I've gone ahead and already done is I just basically copied and pasted this part into the answer box because it's actually a perfect outline that's already written for you. On the AP exam in the spring, you'll have the option to type your answer like into AP Classroom, just like we've been doing already on exams. So you can definitely use that strategy on the AP as well. Just copy and paste and you have your outline right there so you don't forget any terms. Okay, so here's my outline. Basically what I started to do already is type things that aren't full sentences yet, but just to remind myself what all of these terms mean. For your revision, so for these free response revision questions, if you choose to do them, they are open note, so you can 100% use any resources available to you. However, they are timed at 30 minutes, so there is a slight advantage if you know these terms off the top of your head. So I was able to write out these notes here with just from my memory, which is going to give me an advantage because I'm going to have more time to make my answer better, basically, because I'm not wasting time looking up information, which is kind of similar to how the real AP will be in the spring. It's going to be an at-home exam, but it is timed, and the reason it's timed is because they really want to minimize cheating. So they want to minimize the amount of time you have to look up outside information, so it is to your advantage if you kind of have a lot of these ideas at the top of your mind. Okay, but also for this practice, please look up things. This is not the AP yet. So for part A, you can see I just said distributed practice basically just means that Danny would spread out his studying over time, and he's not trying to memorize everything right before the quiz. He's distributing, or he's spreading out his studying over a longer period of time, which tends to help with memory. And then a mnemonic device is anything that helps you remember. So PEMDAS is the one that I always think of as a math teacher, but PEMDAS order helps you memorize the order of operations. It's a device that helps you remember, parentheses, exponent, multiplication, blah, blah, blah. This is the order that I do math in. Another mnemonic device is chunking. So it's a strategy that helps you memorize information. Basically, chunking is just taking a chunk of information at a time. So instead of trying to memorize 100 psychology vocabulary words, for example, I might try to memorize 10 vocabulary words at a time. So I might sit down and memorize 10 words, and then once I have 10 words memorized, then move on to another 10 words. Then once I have those memorized, move on to another 10. So basically, it's kind of like distributed practice, but it's more like you're just taking chunks at a time. So very similar to distributed practice. Okay, let me model for you. I'm not going to do all of these, but I guess just watch this for as long as it's helpful. I will show a few of them, how I would type up my final answer. I wish I could make this not bold, but because I copied it, it's bold. Okay, we'll survive. So using that same structure, I'm just going to look back quickly at how she structured it. So she said, she gave the definition first. So the basic, like if I want to make my own little template to follow, she's giving the definition to start, then she's applying it. Pretty simple. Definition, application. Let's do it. So distributed practice is when you memorize material better by distributing or spreading out your practice over a longer time period. So then normally she always goes into the example with the application. She always goes into it with an if. So I'm going to try that too. It's like my sentence frame. So say, if Danny spreads out his studying time over, what's a good amount of time to study? He has a whole semester to study. So it's over the entire semester. Say he will do better than if he tries to memorize all the cities in the days right before the quiz. Okay, done. Let's underline this for fun. Why not? Okay. Distributed practice is when you memorize material better. Maybe I'll be a little bit fancier. When one memorizes material better by distributing or spreading out practice over a longer time period. If Danny spreads his studying time over the entire semester, he will do better than if he tries to memorize all the cities in the days right before the quiz. I'm happy with it. I think it's good. So basic structure, first sentence was my definition, second sentence starts with an if, and it's my, I can move that. It's my application. Okay, let's go into mnemonic device. A mnemonic device is a tool to help you memorize. To help one memorize something. If Danny, I'm going to use chunking. If Danny chunks his studying, let's say if Danny chunks the cities into groups of 10 and memorizes only 10 cities at a time, he will do better on this task. So just going back to the language of the question, I'm trying to explain how these things might help Danny succeed with this task. Okay. I'm going to do one more for you. Let's do the last one because it's a little bit different. This is from the OCEAN, or the Big Five personality test, the trait of conscientiousness. So the Big Five, I'm just going to delete this one so you don't get confused. A Big Five trait of conscientiousness is a personality trait that describes how likely someone is to follow through on tasks and do what is asked of them, particularly by an authority figure. So I'll say, if Danny is high on the trait of conscientiousness, so good word to know, being conscientious, if you like, you could call someone conscientious who is likely to follow through on tasks and do like the right thing or the thing they're supposed to do. That would be like a conscientious person. Then this will help him stick to a studying schedule. Okay, I'm about to run out of time. Thank you for watching. Good luck with your fear response questions. See y'all later.